Okay, good afternoon, students. Today we'll be talking about a very important topic, as a doctor, as a student, as a medical student, and as a citizen. So let us talk about biomedical waste management and general laboratory safety topics. So first we'll start with general laboratory safety topic. So yeah, why does it matter? Yes, definitely it matters for the safe working, protects the you as an individual as well as other laboratory workers, cleaners, visitors, and your work as well. Now, what does the law say about this? Health Safety at Work etc. Act, it was established in the year 1974. So according to this Safety Act, it says that you must work safely first and you must not endanger others as well. You must not misuse safety equipment. So these are the three important aspects that were being put forwarded by the Health Safety at Work etc. at an act in 1974. And coming to the penalty, if someone doesn't obey the law, the penalty was up to the 2 years in prison or an unlimited amount of fine that has to be given by the person who is violating this law. And what does the law say? The Management of Health and Safety at Work, registered in 1999. Control of Substances Hazardous to Health, which was registered in 2004. You must perform risk assessments. That's an important aspect about this law. And you will receive how to do a risk assessment. Very important thing. You will receive specific training on how to do this in your department. Determine the hazards and evaluate the risk. Use all relevant available data. Determine the controls that are needed to minimize those risks and document the assessment. So these are the important points to perform the risk assessment and agree it with your supervisor. Use those control measures. So this is how you're going to perform the risk assessment. First of all, while assessing the risk, you need to determine the hazards that are related to the particular laboratory equipment or the chemicals. And you're going to evaluate the risk, and you have to use the relevant data that's available, and you need to determine the controls that are needed to minimize those risks. And once you assess any amount of risk, you need to document it, and this document should be agreed, should be in a agreement with the supervisor as well, and use those control measures in order to prevent the damage that is causing. Now, control measures. What are those control measures? Use a less risky substance. For some chemicals, you can use alternate chemicals as well. Not necessarily you have to use that particular chemical itself, right? So you can use the alternative method to perform the experiment as well. So by this using the alternative chemicals or alternative substance, you can definitely minimize the risk. Okay. Use a safer form of the substance. Example, instead of using it in a powdery form, use it as a solution. That is more preferable. Okay, so that's how the control measures that plays an important aspect. Totally enclose the process. Example, as a glove box, you can see here as a glove box, you can do it in an enclosed area. And partially enclose the process. Example, with a fume cupboard. Ensure good general ventilation. That's very important again. Now, safe systems of work and reduce exposure times, increase the distance and reduce the volume as well. And personal protective equipment as a last resort for the primary protection. Usage of gloves, head caps, etc. So now, protecting yourself. Wear the clothing and protective wear identified in your risk assessment. Laboratory coats must be kept fastened, and do not wear sandals or open shoes. That's what we always say, you students, whenever you enter into the biochemistry laboratory, I always make you compelled to wear apron, and hair should be put inside the apron. The long hair should be avoided, and not supposed to wear sandals or open shoes. Long hair must be tied back. So these are some of the control measures that could protect one from the damage that is caused in the laboratory. And protecting yourself, for example, you can use gloves. There are many different types of protective gloves. And usage of the correct ones for the job you will be doing. It's not the correct size of the gloves is very important. So most of the time, most of us are having mismatch with the gloves, and small hands we have got a larger gloves, and longer hand people get smaller. So appropriate usage of the gloves is very essential. Remember that you need to select chemical protection gloves according to the materials or substances with which you will be working. And one of the most important thing is that whenever we are using instruments, telephone, or leaving the laboratory, make sure that you are going to remove your gloves. Okay. And laboratory hygiene, it's very important again. Never eat, never drink, never smoke in a laboratory. Never apply any cosmetics. Never touch your face, mouth, or eyes. Never suck pens or chew pencils. Most of the students do this, right? Always wash your hands before you leave, and especially before eating. And these are the measures to be followed. What are the general hazards in the laboratory? You may be having a chance to get exposure to the fire. There may be breakage of glasswares and shops, exposure to shocks, spillages, then pressure equipment and gas cylinders, extremes of heat and cold. Chemical hazards because of acids that we use for our experiments, hydrochloric acid, H2SO4, right? Biological hazards and radiation, and any other from any other cause apart from this as well. Now, avoiding fires. How do you avoid the fire? Flammable substances, use the minimum quantity and store it in a special storage cabinet. Use temperature controlled heating sources, example water bath rather than hot plate or the Bunsen burner. Okay. It's better to use always alternative methods of performing the same procedures under the preventive aspects as well, as because you can always prefer water bath rather than using hot plate or Bunsen burner as well. And coming to the fire door, keep shut, and make sure that the corridor fire doors and the laboratory doors are kept shut all the times. And fire safety, make sure that you know what to do if you have a fire and if you hear a fire alarm. If you are a member of staff, you must attend the fire training annually. Postgraduates should also seriously consider doing this. Very important thing. Glassware. Use correct techniques for the insertion of tubing into the glasswares, and never use glassware under the pressure or the vacuum unless it is designed for the job and suitably shielded. Dispose of the chipped or broken glassware as it may risk you, because someone walks under the glass piece wearing sandals, definitely it may injure you, right? And always dispose of the broken glass in a glass bin or sharp bin, not in a general waste bin. That is with respect to the glassware. Now coming to the spillages, clear up the spillage promptly. These days, especially if you are working in a hospital setup in a central laboratory, any spillage is there, the recommendation is that use 1% sodium hypochlorite on that spillage, and just pour it on the spillage. Leave it for 30 minutes to 1 hour, and after that you can wipe it off, right? So that's a normally performed procedure, and you will already have determined how to do this as a part of your risk assessment. Dispose of any hazardous material as a toxic waste. And messy workers are usually poor workers, so spillages has to be taken care in this manner. And with respect to the gas cylinders, never use without any formal training. Minimize the number in a laboratory. Store externally whenever it is possible. Cylinders are too heavy and can do serious damage to you if they fall. Ensure that they are changed when in use. Move only with a cylinder trolley. Use constant regulators and control equipment suitable for the gas that is concerned. Consider the consequences if at all, if there is any leakage of the cylinder. So you have to estimate what may the consequences. Accordingly, you can take the precautions about it. And coming to the liquid gases, they are the cryogenics. It is called as cryogenics. The liquid gases are extremely cold and they can cause burns as well, because these liquid gases evaporate, and mainly they lead to asphyxiation. And if you need to take cryogen in a lift, there are special procedures to follow, and speak to your supervisor or a senior member of the technical staff. And you must have a special training to use them as well. Now coming to the electrical equipment, always do a visual checkup on the electrical equipment before you're going to start up the equipment, looking for any obvious tears and the defect in the machine. Okay. All portable electrical equipment must have a current pad test sticker and never use defective equipment at all. So that's why the physical examination of any equipment is very important before you start the work with it. Now, general tidiness, like keep your workplace, and clear up the waste, deal with the washing up and put out the things away as you finish with them. Make sure everything is safe before you leave the things unattended. A tidy laboratory avoids accidents to everyone. And the laboratory equipment, never use laboratory equipment unless you are trained in it and have been authorized to do so. So most of the people with lot of enthusiasm, without knowing anything about the machine, they just want to switch on the machine, and you will see a lot of troubles happening. So don't do that until unless you are familiar about the particular equipment, and you have not. You should go through the standard protocol before you operate any equipment. You should follow the particular SOP of that particular instrument before you start operating it. As well as injuring yourself, you may cause very costly damage as well. The machine may get damaged, and you will be accountable for it. First aid, all laboratory workers should undergo simple first aid training. For all chemical splashes, whenever there's a chemical spillage or splashes, what I'm going to do, wash it with plenty of water for 10 minutes and control if there is bleeding, control bleeding with a direct pressure, avoiding any foreign bodies such as glass. Report all accidents to your supervisor or departmental safety officer. And protecting your health, if you have any allergy to lab materials or suffer from a medical condition which may affect you in a laboratory, for example diabetes, epilepsy, ensure that your supervisor knows about your medical condition that you are going to suffer from. And waste materials, part of your risk assessment will be determine how to dispose of the waste laboratory materials safely. Like solvents and oils must be segregated in the correct waste bottle or drum. Your department will help you to determine what to do with the chemical or biological materials. Do not put materials down the drain or in with the normal waste unless authorized to do so. Working outside the normal hours at weekends, you will need to attend the training courses and have permission from your head of the department before working outside the normal hours. Most experimental work is not permitted. Your supervisor will explain the requirements in detail. That's not a concern with you guys actually. When in doubt, ask. Very important. Do not carry out a new or unfamiliar procedure until unless you have been fully trained and understood the precautions necessary for the safe working. Do not guess. It's very important when you are operating any instruments. Do not make guesswork. I can operate in this way or that way. No, don't do such kind of things. Okay. So that's about the general laboratory safety. And coming to the biomedical waste management, very important topic as a doctor, as a medical practitioner, as a student. So this is a very very important topic again that we will be dealing today. Let the waste of the sick do not contaminate the life of the healthy person. That's a statement. And what is this biomedical waste? Am I audible to you? Can you please message me? Am I audible now? So biomedical waste is nothing but a solid waste that is generated during the diagnosis, testing and the treatment, research or production of biological products for the human beings or the animals. So it is consisting of solids, liquids, chops, laboratory waste that are potentially infectious or dangerous that are considered as a bio waste. It must be properly managed to protect the general public, specifically healthcare sanitation workers who are regularly exposed to the biomedical waste as well as an occupational hazard. So as per World Health Organization, they say that 85% of the hospital waste is non-hazardous. Of course, the 10% is again infectious, and 5% is not infectious but consists of hazardous chemicals like methyl chloride and formaldehyde. And the different locations, the points of generation, so where exactly this waste generation the hospital system generates, especially in the OT operation theater, it may be in the wards and the labor room or dressing rooms, injection rooms, intensive care units and dialysis rooms, laboratory, corridors, compound of hospital or the nursing home. These are the sites of generation of the waste in the hospital premises. So what are these components of biomedical waste? It is consisted of number one, human anatomical waste, and which includes tissue, organ, body parts, etc. Animal waste, as above, generated during the research experiments and from veterinary hospitals, etc. Microbiology and biotechnology waste such as laboratory culture and microorganisms, human and animal cell cultures, and toxins, etc. Waste sharps such as hypodermic needles, syringes, scalpels, broken glasses, discarded medicines and cytotoxic drugs. And the solid waste, which includes dressing, bandages, plaster, material contaminated with the blood, etc. And the solid waste, it includes disposal items like tubes, catheters, and excluding the sharps. Liquid waste generated from any of the infected areas, incineration, ash, and the chemical waste. So these are some of the components of the biomedical waste. What are the health hazards that are associated with the poor management of this biomedical waste? Injury from the sharps to staff and waste handlers associated with healthcare establishment, and sometimes there are chances for the person to develop nosocomial infection, which we call it as hospital acquired infection. Risk of infection outside the hospital for the waste handlers, scavengers, and eventually general public as well. Occupational risk associated with hazardous chemicals and some drugs, unauthorized repackaging and sale of disposal items and unused date expired drugs. And what are the rules of this biomedical waste? The Government of India, as contemplated under the Section 68 and 25 of the Environment Protection Act 1986, has made the biomedical waste management rules in 1998. The rules are applicable to every institution generating the biomedical waste, and which includes the hospitals, nursing homes, dispensary clinics, veterinary institutions, animal houses, pathological lab, diagnostic centers, blood bank, and the rules are applicable to even all irrespective of any field. The rules are going to be same. Then the biomedical waste are categorized into 10 different categories based upon the type of waste and the type of disposal. We're going to discuss in this box. Cat 1, it represents the human anatomical waste, where human tissue, organ, or the body parts. So the treatment, we're going to dispose this. It could be by incineration or by the deep burial. These are the two methods which are commonly used for the disposal option for the category 1. Category 2, it is an animal waste, the animal tissues, organs, body parts, carcasses, bleeding parts, fluid, blood, experimental animals used in the research, waste generated by the veterinary hospital, colleges, and the discharge from the hospitals and animal houses. Again, they are subjected to incineration or deep burial. Cat 3, once I finish this Cat 1 to Cat 10, I will ask you to take paper and pen. All of you have to write it down, Cat 1 to Cat 10, and what is the type of disposal. So please note this table properly, okay? Right now, after once I finish explaining this slide, all of you have to take a paper and pen. I'm going to write down. Cat 3, it includes microbiology and biotechnology waste from the laboratory culture, stock, specimen of the live microorganisms. You can either treat it with autoclave or microwaving or incineration. The Cat 4 includes waste sharp like needles, syringes, scalpel, bait, glass. So we are going to do this disinfecting with a chemical treatment, autoclaving, microwaving, mutilation, shredding. Cat 5 is a discarded medicine, cytotoxic drugs. You are going to subject it for incineration, destruction, and drugs disposal in secured landfilling. Cat 6 includes a soiled waste, not solid, soiled waste. Items which are contaminated with the body fluids, including cotton dressings, soiled, plaster cast, lines, linen, bedding, other materials contaminated with the blood. You are going to subject it for incineration or autoclaving or microwaving. Cat 7 is a solid waste which is generated from the disposal items rather than a waste sharp. See, the important difference between Cat 4 and Cat 7, even though they both are solid waste, the Cat 4 includes the sharps, but the Cat 7 does not include the sharp, but it includes the waste that is generated from the disposal items rather than the waste sharps, such as tubing, catheters, and intravenous sets that you're going to use for the patients, especially in the casualty ICU setups, right, in the surgical wards, medicine wards. So it is the type of disposal is by disinfecting, by chemical treatment or autoclave, microwaving or mutilation. Cat 8 is a liquid waste related to the laboratory, washing, cleaning, housekeeping, disinfecting activities. So going to disinfect by chemical treatment and discard into the drains. Like you can treat it with sodium hypochlorite as well. And cat 9, it is an incineration ash which is from the any biomedical waste. It has to be disposed in the municipality landfilling, has to be done for this particular cat 9 waste. Cat 10, it has got a chemical waste, the chemicals used in the production of biological chemicals used in disinfecting as insecticides. So you're going to treat it with the chemicals and discharge into the drains for the liquids and secured landfilling for the solids. So once more, all of you please observe this table. After this you have to, I will give you 5 minutes time, you have to write it down. So cat 1 is a human anatomical waste, cat 2 is animal waste, cat 3 is microbiology biotechnology waste, cat 4 is a waste shops, cat 5 is discarded medicine and cytotoxic drugs, cat 6 is a soiled waste, cat 7 is solid waste, cat 8 is a liquid waste, and cat 9 is a incineration ash, cat 10 is a chemical waste. So for all of them, the initial cat 1, cat 2, they are subjected to, even cat 3 as well, they are subjected to incineration. Coming to the cat 4 autoclave or chemical treatment and microwaving, shredding as well. Cat 5 again incineration, cat 6 again incineration. So you can remember it as 1 to 6 is incineration, except cat 4. Cat 4 is to be subjected to autoclaving or chemical treatment or microwaving. And cat 7, again there's a change here. Cat 7, again you're going to subject it for chemical treatment, autoclaving, and any one you can write it down. Cat 8 by chemical treatment and discard it into the drains because it's a liquid waste. Cat 9 disposed in the municipality landfill. And cat 10 chemical treatment, and you are going to discharge with into the drains for liquids and secured landfilling for the solids. Chemical waste has got a liquid chemical waste and solid chemical waste. Liquid chemical waste, as we did it in the cat 8, it is treating with the chemical and discarding into the drain. And cat 10 solids, you are going to do landfilling. Okay, so please do remember, all of you. Now I am going to change the slide. Now all of you please take paper and pen, start writing. The first person who is going to finish writing, you will post it in the WhatsApp group. One person from A group, one person from B. Only one has to post, whoever is the earliest to write, earliest to finish. Okay, so one of you please from A group and one of you from B group, please post it. Only one. For that person we will be giving some extra marks in your internal assessment. Do not copy, just write how much ever you remember. Let's see whose memory power. So shall we move on then? No one is able to write. So this was a table that we had discussed, Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7, Cat 8, Cat 9 and Cat 10. Cat 1 represents human anatomical waste, and Cat 2 animal waste, Cat 3 microbiology and biotechnology waste, Cat 4 waste sharps, Cat 5 discarded medicine and cytotoxic drugs, Cat 6 is a solid waste, soiled waste, and Cat 7 is a solid waste, and Cat 8 is liquid waste, Cat 9 incineration ash, and Cat 10 is a chemical waste. So these are the various categories of waste. And coming to the types of biomedical waste, that is segregation of biomedical waste. However, before we discard or before we subject it for the treatment, segregation of this biomedical waste is very important. Segregation at source of different types of biomedical waste and their appropriate storage, disinfection, sterilization would ensure that infectious waste do not get mixed with the non-infectious waste, as this would infect the entire waste. So ensure that before you discard the sample, while you are segregating, do not mix the infectious waste with the non-infectious waste. Suppose if you are doing that, the entire waste becomes infectious. Hence, segregation of waste in infected or contaminated waste and non-infected waste is very much important. Mandatory, it's a prerequisite for the safe and hygienic waste management. Segregation at source makes it easier to prevent spread of infection, help it easier to choose among the options of the disposal. It can reduce the load on the waste treatment and prevent the injuries. The rules that are recommended for the treatment or the discard of this waste is using different color code system for the particular waste, and the segregation of this waste into various categories stored in 4 different colored containers are taken into the account for the treatment or disposal facilities available. Now all of you please note this: yellow color coding is used for the waste Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3 and Cat 6. It is type of container will be the plastic bag, and the treatment options are incineration or deep burial. And red color coding is meant for disinfected container. It is a type of container that we use for red coding is different disinfected container, or the plastic bag is meant for Cat 3, Cat 6 and Cat 7. And the treatment options are autoclaving, microwaving or chemical treatment. And blue or white translucent plastic bag or puncture proof container meant for Cat 4 and Cat 7. Cat 4 is your sharps, right? So remember that. And autoclaving, microwaving, chemical treatment, destruction or shredding is the treatment options that are being available for this particular waste. And black plastic bag, it is meant for it's a basically plastic bag meant for Cat 5, Cat 9, Cat 10, which is solid. The Cat 10 is a solid. It has got 2 types, I said you, the liquid and solid part. The solid part of the Cat 10 is disposed into the secured landfilling. So these are the various methods and color coding bags that we use for the particular waste category. Like yellow color, you have got a plastic bag, and yellow color bag is used for Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3 and Cat 6. Next comes your red color coding. The type of container will be plastic bag, which is used for Cat 3, Cat 6 and Cat 7. And autoclaving or chemical treatment would do the treatment option. And blue or white translucent plastic bag or puncture proof bag container for Cat 4 and Cat 7. Chemical treatment, microwaving, autoclaving would do the treatment options. The black plastic bag meant for Cat 5, Cat 9, Cat 10 disposed in the secured landfilling. Now, how could you transport this biomedical waste? Untreated biomedical waste should be transported only in the designed vehicles. The waste should be transported for the treatment either the trolley or the covered wheel barrows. The bag's container containing biomedical waste should be tied lidded before the transportation. Before transporting the bag containing biomedical waste, it should be accompanied with a signed document by the nurse or the doctor mentioning the date, shipped quantity and destination as well. So the personal safety devices like gloves, apron, gown, suits and other apparels, masks, boots have to be used. And the waste treatment system includes that it should be disposed of very carefully because it may be infectious in nature. Any biomedical waste treatment system should comprise of segregation at source, storage in the color coded containers, systematic collection, transportation to treatment site, and treatment considering the type of waste, disposal considering the type of waste. Segregation of this biomedical waste is based on the category of the waste. Storage and collection of the waste in color coded containers is based on the treatment adopted. So what are the specification of the equipment like incinerator, deep burial system, autoclave, microwave, chemical treatment, destruction, shredding and disposal in the secured landfill. So these are the type of system or the treatment of this biomedical waste that we use it in our setup, like incineration or deep burial or autoclaving, microwave treatment and chemical treatment, destruction and shredding, disposal in the secured landfill. So these are some of the specifications that are used for the waste management. As we have come to an end, please do remember about this particular table again. So the yellow color coding bag, plastic bag, it is meant for cat 1, cat 2, cat 3 and cat 6. It is the treatment option is incineration or deep burial, and the red disinfected container, the plastic bag, meant for cat 3, cat 6, cat 7, subjected for autoclaving or chemical treatment, and a blue or white or translucent plastic bag or the puncture proof container meant for cat 4, cat 7. It has been the treatment option would be the autoclaving or chemical treatment. The plastic bag, which is black colored, it is used for cat 5, cat 9 and cat 10 solid waste. It should be disposed in a secured landfill. So this about the today's topic, that's laboratory safety as well as biomedical waste management. For your undergraduate level, you must know the 10 different categories of the biomedical waste and their method of disposal of this 10 categories of waste, and the color coded bags that we use for the particular category of the waste. One has to remember about this. So it's sometimes in the practical classes also this knowledge is very much essential. Sometimes they may ask you questions as well out of this, so please do remember this topic, and you have to write it down in your record. I will tell you later where to write and all that. And so today with this I am ending my class now.